The Board of Peace is showing how a better future can be built, starting right here in this room. And I want to let you know that the United States is going to make a contribution of $10 billion to the Board of Peace. Thank you. And we've had great support for that number. And that number is a very small number when you look at that compared to the cost of war. That's 2 weeks of fighting. It's a very small number. It sounds like a lot, but it's a very small number. So we're committed to $10 billion.
In that clip, Trump mentions the U.S. contributing $10 billion to fund the Board of Peace, and many people, including the White House, are wondering where this money is going to come from. U.S. civilians are hoping it doesn't come from taxpayers. A man on TikTok is going viral after claiming that we're not taking this whole Board of Peace situation serious enough. Check this out.
We are not taking this Board of Peace seriously enough. I just did a deep dive and my God, please stay with me on this one. It's a little like how we reacted to Space Force before we knew it was permanent, except this one is on a whole different level. So the board consists of 6 members, including a chairman for life, which is, of course, Donald Trump, and 5 other board members, which are Marco Rubio, Jared Kushner, Tony Blair, Mark Rowan, who runs Apollo Global Management, and Steve Witkoff. It's supposed to be what they're calling a private sector-led alternative to the United Nations. The board is set up as a private treasury model, much like the UN and the World Bank. Now, the chairman for life, Donald Trump, has exclusive authority to create, modify, or dissolve subsidiary entities and approve all administrative directives, so full control over everything. If this was a U.S. corporation, this setup would be illegal, but it gets a whole lot worse. One of the first executive orders that Trump signed on January 16th of 2025 was Executive Order 14275. This designates the Board of Peace as a public international organization. This gives the board and the funds that it holds the same legal privileges, tax exemptions, and immunities as the UN, completely shielded from judicial oversight and seizure by federal courts, if we were to actually try and have accountability someday. Membership on the board is really simple, pay to play, $1 billion. And so far, the countries that have contributed are Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Morocco, Bahrain, Uzbekistan, and Kuwait. And it was just announced today that you, the American taxpayer, is going to be contributing $10 billion to a fund exclusively controlled by Donald Trump, even if he's not president anymore. Now, here's where things start to get pretty scary. The first area is with crypto. Thanks to the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act, or the Genius Act, passed by Congress, the Board of Peace is designed to utilize stablecoin infrastructure. And Trump's own crypto venture, World Liberty Financial, is the primary vehicle. And the UAE bought 49% of World Liberty Financial 4 days before Trump was inaugurated. And a significant portion of the $17 billion that's already been contributed is being converted into USD1, Trump's stablecoin. And not only that, but the board can actually mint USD1 against US treasuries. And so they can spend funds without it ever even touching a traditional bank. And of course, the first place they're looking to do this is Gaza. They're calling it a Gaza relief package. But what it is an investment fund to build 200 hotels and 400,000 new homes in Gaza, completing the genocide. Now, the last part is probably something Scott Jennings would say gets my knickers in a twist. The fund has its own paramilitary force called the International Stabilization Force, or ISF. It's commanded by U.S. Major General Jasper Jeffries III, and it already has pledges of 20,000 soldiers and 12,000 police officers, mostly coming from Indonesia, Egypt, and Jordan. And to go back to Gaza, there are already plans to build a 5,000-person military base over 350 acres in Gaza. So even if we were to succeed in getting Trump out of there, he can sit around as chairman of the Board of Peace with full diplomatic immunity, a shit ton of funds, and his own army. Let that sink in.
Now, he had some really interesting points, though. Trump has a plan to fulfill his own desires, even at the cost of U.S. citizens. I understand the war in other countries may be severe, but there are many problems in America that needs to be the focus too. Prices to buy homes are going up, people can't afford food, etc. This whole entire situation feels like prophecy, and we must get right with God. Check out this clip.
Does everybody like the music?
Today in Washington, President Trump's newly formed Board of Peace met for the first time.
Today, thanks to unrelenting diplomacy and the commitment of many of the great people in this room, the war in Gaza is over.
The president stood flanked by representatives from more than 40 countries, with observers from a dozen more, gathered for what he called one of his most important and consequential missions.
What we're doing is very simple: peace. It's called the Board of Peace. An easy word to say, but a hard word to produce. Peace.
But the reality in Gaza is far from peaceful. Mourners gathered for a funeral for 9 Palestinians killed in Israeli airstrikes this past weekend, in what Israel's military called a response to ceasefire violations by Hamas.
Do you believe that there is a Board of Peace? Do you believe that Trump would come defend us? The one who is supplying Israel with weapons, money, with protection, and with an international umbrella.
In Washington, the president announced the U.S. would commit $10 billion toward establishing the board. It's unclear whether the president has the authority to spend those funds. Neither he nor the White House detailed where the money would come from or how it would be used. Mr. Trump also said 9 countries pledged a combined $7 billion toward a Gaza relief package. Today's session lasted several hours with dozens of speakers, including Israel's foreign affairs minister.
Our previous plans for Gaza failed because they never addressed the core issues: terror, hate, incitement, and indoctrination.
And the head of the Palestinian Technocratic Committee, who outlined priorities for Gaza, starting with security.
We are operating in extremely difficult conditions. Our mandate is simple, President: step by step to build the foundation for lasting peace.
Key U.S. allies, including the U.K., France, and Canada, were not in attendance. The president said he intends to name his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, as the special peace envoy. Kushner, who has extensive and lucrative business ties in the Middle East, defended the board structure.
A lot of these people are volunteers. They're doing this not for any personal gain. People are not personally profiting from this.
The head of a newly announced international stabilization force said several countries, including Indonesia and Morocco, have pledged troops.
With these first steps, we will help bring the security that Gaza needs for a future of prosperity and enduring peace.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio called the board the only way forward.
There is no plan B for Gaza. Plan B is going back to war. No one here wants that.
In Gaza, peace feels remote. Tents now cover swaths of devastated land. Children play with makeshift lanterns made from empty soda cans. And long lines for food remain a daily reality.
Rain, wind, and cold in the tents. What are people supposed to do? How can the young people live in tents like these?
For now, conditions on the ground suggest the Board of Peace faces a formidable test.
At the end of the day, this whole situation feels bigger than politics. For some people, it feels prophetic, like we're watching something unfold that's deeper than just policy decisions. Others are uneasy, questioning whether this is really about peace or if there's something more sinister happening behind the scenes. Some believe power is being stretched too far, but one thing is clear: Americans are tired. Tired of endless foreign conflicts, tired of watching resources go overseas while problems at home keep growing. Whether you support it or question it, the real conversation comes down to this: should America's focus be on fixing America first,